Welcome to Intuitive Transformations with your host, Sylvia Henderson, and discover tools, wisdom, and inspiration that will empower you to transform your life. Sylvia is an intuitive life coach and energy healer with a growing practice that is focused on empowering others to be more of who they want to be. For the next hour, join Sylvia and explore and unravel anything in the way of you creating the life that you would love to live on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello there, and welcome to the Intuitive Transformations radio show, where you can find tools you can use to change and transform your life. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and if you are here for the very first time, I just want you to know that I am here every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, live right here on OMTimes Radio, the voice of consciousness. The focus of this show is to connect with creative and conscious minds on a soul-to-soul level and to share valuable information and resources that you can use to expand into more of who you truly are so that you can step more boldly into what you love and desire to receive and experience in your life. So if you enjoy my show, please be sure to like me on Facebook, tweet about the show, and share the Intuitive Transformations podcast with your friends and family. All the necessary links are located on the show description page on OMTimes.com. And as my niece would say when she was much, much younger, sharing is caring. So please share, because it's important to get the word out that there are positive and uplifting conversations happening right here every Sunday night that inspire, support, and enlighten your life. Now, if there is a topic that you would like to see featured on the show, then leave me a comment on my OMTimes radio show page and just let me know. If you'd like to know more about me and what I do, then you can visit my website at intuitivetransformations.net. It's just like the name of the radio show, intuitivetransformations.net. And please do take advantage of my complimentary 15-minute transformational phone sessions, especially if you're facing any challenges in your life. You'd really be surprised how much can happen in just 15 minutes. Today's show is about something that everyone has heard of, yet most people just don't understand. We're going to talk about meditation. And it's really interesting because meditation is something that should not be that confusing, but for some reason it is extremely confusing, especially for those who do not have a regular meditation practice. When I recommend meditation to many of my clients, I can tell by the look on their faces that they immediately step into overwhelm with the thought of having to quiet their thoughts and shut down their thinking processes. And so everyone immediately jumps down to, oh my God, I can't sit in silence for 5 minutes, let alone 20. And they don't realize that it's a process, and that there are many, many ways that one can meditate that don't necessarily involve sitting perfectly still in perfect silence in a lotus position. Today, I have a wonderful guest who teaches yoga and meditation and who is going to share with us from her many years of practicing meditation. Oh, I almost said medication. Meditation is the best kind of medication you can ever have. But she's going to share how to open ourselves to the transformative process of meditation. Whether you consider yourself a novice when it comes to meditation, or if you are a seasoned meditator and have had a regular daily practice for many, many years, you're really going to enjoy this show. Today's show promises to deliver information that will allow you to enhance your meditation experience and really demystify a lot about what people typically conclude meditation is. I have Diana Lang here, author of Opening to Meditation, A Gentle Guided Approach joining me on the air today. Diana wrote a book called Opening to Meditation for meditators of all levels and all experience. If you have never meditated a day in your life, Diana's straightforward book is clear and simple and easy to follow. And this proves that meditation can be just as simple and easy as breathing in and breathing out. In addition to valuable insights and practical tips, Diana has included links to her guided meditations, which she personally created and designed to enhance your meditation experience and make meditation easy for everyone. And you can find those links in her book, Opening to Meditation. Diana is a teacher's teacher of meditation and yoga with over 35 years of teaching experience, as well as spiritual counseling, and she's also been a radio personality. Diana is active in a variety of nonprofit international efforts to teach meditation and yoga around the globe. And Diana is the owner and director of the LifeWorks Center for Growth in Los Angeles, California, where she currently lives. Diana Lang, welcome to the show.
Hello, Sylvia. It's so great to be here today.
Oh, it's really fantastic. I want those who are listening in to know that we tried to get Diana on a while ago and we had some technical difficulties. So I'm just so thrilled that she agreed to give it another go. And today, yahoo, we have great success. So Diana, conversations about meditation have become pretty mainstream when you began, far more than I'm sure when you began 35 years ago, right?
Yes, definitely. It's almost trendy these days, where before it was people didn't know what it was. It was very mysterious. You had to go to an ashram, in India or Tibet or something, Now it's pretty much everywhere.
It is. It's even in corporate America, because I know that there are some corporate offices. Google has a local office here in Kirkland, Washington, that's just on the other side of the water from Seattle. And they actually have somebody coming into the campus and they teach meditation, which I think is just beautiful.
Yeah, they do it at all the really up and coming companies, especially in the computer industry. You see it at Facebook. You see it all around. They have labyrinths and all kinds of, quiet rooms and places to kind of close your mind, quiet your mind so that you can be more creative.
And having a quiet mind, that really does kind of open the doorway to, what else is possible and unlimited creativity.
Right, exactly. And that's why, Apple does it, AOL does it, HBO does it, Nike does it, Walt Disney does it, because they want to optimize the workflow and keeping that creative right brain, left brain process moving, and meditation and anything creative, will help that, but meditation particularly does.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I didn't even realize that aspect of it. So I think that's great. And I practice meditation on not a daily basis, but regularly. I'm working on it. So you've been a teacher for about 35 years. And so how, have you been meditating longer than you were teaching, or when did you start?
Yeah, I did. I've always meditated, I believe, even when I didn't know I was meditating. But then I came into a formal practice pretty young, and then, started teaching it also pretty young. But I think I was an artist, I was a musician, and I was kind of a philosophical child, an introverted child, and I was a reader. And so a lot of my life was inside and moving from the inside out anyway. So meditation came very naturally to me. Plus, I think when you play music, it is a meditation, and when you paint, it is a meditation in a sense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even like you mentioned, labyrinth. I love walking in a labyrinth. It's a wonderful, moving meditation for me. And sometimes I'll put some lovely music on my headphones, and it's really magical and transformative what can happen.
Right. And that's why, like you were saying in your opening, that, people are a little intimidated by meditation sometimes, but there's lots of ways to meditate. And people are meditating often and they don't even realize it when they're gardening or, bringing a baby to sleep, or walking a labyrinth.
Even rocking in a chair, I suppose, would be kind of meditative and contemplative. So how would you define meditations? I mean, when we're talking about, walking a labyrinth, rocking a baby, listening to music. I mean, yes, melding the two hemispheres of the brain or allowing them to work better together. But really, what is meditation?
Well, I think it's the important word is the conscious practice of bringing the mind to presence. And so we are present, when something important is happening, or if there's an emergency, we get very present. But with meditation, you're choosing to be present when there's not an emergency and there's nothing urgent in that very moment, which will bring us to presence, so that we start to become present more and more of the time. So it's an exercise and a practice to help that happen, so that when we go out into the world or into our work or into our relationships or the world and all the different ways, we bring that presence with us. And also I would call it a practice in essence training to be who we really, really, truly, essentially are.
So that is a huge, that's pretty tremendous to say, to be who we truly are. I mean, how many years does it take to get there?
That's funny. Well, children are, so they don't take any years.
So how many years does it take to forget?
For an adult.
And remember.
Right. It is remembering, and it's a going back to, it's a returning to yourself. And, I always call it, it's not really changing. You're really coming back to your essential self. And so you're sort of taking layers off and a little bit deconstructing a lot of the ego layers that get laid on top of us by our families and by society and all of that.
Wow. That is, okay, so everyone, please stay tuned. I have Diana Lang here. When we return in just a few moments, we're going to continue this conversation about meditation and, even more importantly, how to get back to who you really are, because meditation is a doorway. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Intuitive Transformations with Sylvia Henderson, and I have with me today Diana Lang, and we are talking about her most recent book, her brand new book. Is this the only book you have, Diana? Is there another one?
There's another one in the works, but this is the one that's out.
Awesome. We're talking about her book, Opening to Meditation. And before we went into the break, you were just talking about how you can use meditation to become more of who we really are.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you continue that thought a little bit more?
Yes, and so what could be more precious than this, is that returning to our true self, that when we are our true self, our life moves more smoothly and more elegantly. We come into the flow of our life, and things kind of roll out into our lives rather than the force of the ego's mind that tries to make it happen and, compete against somebody else or try to be like someone else. When we finally realize that it really is our unique particular note is so valuable. And when you meditate, you get this relationship with your inner self and your higher self.
So, okay, in meditation, one of the things that I noticed when I first started, and it still happens, quite honestly, I'll still keep a box of Kleenex next to me when I'm meditating, because, in my life, I've had a lot of traumatic experiences. And what I find with meditation, what's beautiful about it for me is not only does it settle me down and allow me to ground myself back in my body and to connect to my inner guidance, but it also, to me, has been a beautiful vehicle for inner healing. Because sometimes emotions will come up, and as I allow them to come up and flow through me versus holding on and judging them and criticizing them, it's like a complete release. Do you notice that too, or have you noticed that with other students who practice?
Oh, yes. This is a very, important part of meditation. It's like doing therapy, that whatever needs to be resolved or brought to the surface or unconscious material or unresolved issues begin to kind of come up to our attention to work with and heal, to do Ho'oponopono or whatever way where you can sort of bless your life and bless the people involved that come up in these memories or these, the anxieties of the future too. And so meditation is so powerful for that. That's why I really love to teach it so much. There's just nothing like it. There's nothing faster that will take you to yourself than meditation. And there's other things that will do it, but not as directly,
Yeah, no, I do know because I've experienced that. And I have a huge repertoire of tools in my tool chest. And so for me, as, I use different tools with my clients, but for myself, I really appreciate the value of meditation because it does allow me to see beneath the veil of what are the underlying issues for myself in a way that I wouldn't be able to find. Well, I mean, I won't say I wouldn't be able to find it, but it's just such a fluid way to find it.
Right. And even if you never meditated, you might find your way there. We will find our way there, but it takes a lot longer. So one of the things I make a joke about with meditation, it's like putting your foot down on the accelerator. You start to move, but you move in real time and you move in natural time, like organic time to your true life.
Yeah. Yeah, you get into your own rhythm, your true rhythm, right?
Right.
That's the beautiful thing about it. And so I'm not sure about, your students that come, but I'm sure you get some students that are your typical, corporate America kind of perfectionist, performance-driven individual, go, never slowing down. How do you take someone like that who's such a strong type A, must be active all the time and their mind is, and highly intelligent, and which is why their mind is always running. How do you get them to kind of harness that? I call it our mind kind of like a 2-year-old on too much sugar.
Right.
That's kind of run amok and you have to give it something to do or there'll be crayons on the wall and, Barbie doll hair has been cut and barbered, right? I mean, how do you help someone that they're completely stressed out?
Yeah. They
have no frame of reference, other short of some kind of actual pharmacological medication
exactly.
to be able to quiet themselves down. They really think it's impossible. What do you do with someone like that?
Well, those are mostly who I'm working with are either creatives or, analytical intellectuals. That's the biggest group. They want this so much. They want what they've read. They want what they've heard about it, but they don't know how to do it. And, I teach them the specific tools to do, but I also explain it to them, like why they want to do it. So I want to get them motivated to try because the payoff is so great. And like you said, pharmaceuticals or meditation. I mean, what a wonderful, interesting choice, and it's not to judge one or the other, but it's a different way for sure. And it starts to give you control back over your life again. And people really want that. And because these days things are going so fast, there's no relief anywhere. We take our cell phones to bed practically,
No, we do. If it's not that, it's an iPad or a Surface. Right. It's some kind of or a laptop in the bed. That's typically what the American, and people go out to dinner now and couples and they're both on their cell phones and you just kind of shake your head back and forth going, wow, there's what happened?
Have you heard of the funny game that it's happening down here? It might be happening up there. Is if you go out with friends or couples or things, everybody puts their cell phone in the middle of the table and whoever uses it has to pay.
I think that's a fantastic idea because we've forgotten that we're human beings and we really need that sense of interaction that's more on a connection eye to eye versus texting all the time or emailing. I love that idea. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to just add is that, pain will bring you there. People's lives, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering, I should say, of loneliness, isolation, even with all this interaction, there's more loneliness than there's ever been. And so people are coming into meditation looking for something, and the wonderful thing is there is something to find in meditation that will absolutely change your life.
That's, you're right. That was one of the things I was going to touch upon was we're so overstimulated. It's almost like our television sets are, everything is coming at us. We're constantly being bombarded. So our neurology is in a constant state of fight and flight always. That's why people aren't sleeping like they used. It's one of the reasons. Some other things have to do with how the planet's shifting. But for the most part, that's why people are so overwhelmed.
Right. And so they're looking for peace. They're looking for answers. And then, of course, when you first start to meditate, you sort of encounter the not peace of ourselves, and then you get to work with that and sort of, heal yourself and heal your life, and all that unresolved tension and pain kind of can start to be moved through rather than we're afraid of ourselves and we won't go inside at all because we're afraid of what we'll find. But of course, it's only God. It's only good. It's only love that's there.
You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. That's the way I feel about it as well. But you're right. It's like, it's interesting how afraid people are to be alone with their thoughts and allow them to flow because so many of their thoughts are self-depreciating.
Right. Exactly. And so, meditation phrase I'll often use for my new students is, and it's a really hard one, but I give it to them right away just to practice with. And it says, I deeply and completely accept myself as I am, as it is.
I love, that's part of an EFT kind of, I don't know if you're familiar with emotional freedom technique, but how powerful is that? And I'm sure it's kind of like in that way, I think of Louise Hay, how she would do mirror work and have people stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you to themselves over and over again. Right. In some ways, that's very similar.
Yes, and that's a great way to do it too, to get very close to a mirror and look in your own eyes and see, is anybody home in there? And of course there is, but sometimes there's so many shieldings and separations because we're so much self-shame or self-pain that we can't get to it. And meditation will take you there. It just does. And what's so amazing is it doesn't take that much to do it. It's when I work with new students, I just tell them, just meditate for 5 minutes a day.
So just 5 minutes a day. And so let's talk about meditation in of itself. So when you say it doesn't take very long to get there, so you've got a brand new student and you tell them 5 minutes a day, and do they not get a little like, well, but 5 minutes? Because, they're such overachievers. Yes. Are you sure I shouldn't do 20?
Well, they can do 20, but I just want them to do 5.
5 minutes a day is better than the morning.
I just want them to do 5. I want them to stop. I want them to take a breath. I want them to build a practice. Mm-hmm. And 5 minutes, you'd be surprised how hard that actually is for a person that's never done it. And so I'm fine with them doing that. And just in that 5 minutes, it will change their life. And that's what's so profound about it. It's not about volume. It's about quality, of time and the way you're present with yourself and the state of consciousness that you're building as love inside yourself. And you start to heal things.
Yeah, you do. So you've been talking, though, about all these different ways you can meditate, rocking in a chair, labyrinth, sitting still as well, following your breath, which we haven't really talked much about yet. But so is there a wrong way to meditate?
No. I suppose there must be. I don't. No one has ever asked me that. I think the intention to sit to meditate is going to be good for a person, whatever way they do, whether it be to take 3 breaths, right? Mm-hmm. While they're driving even. Mm-hmm. I'm always just trying to get people to get present, right? So when we're present, everything starts shifting anyway. Our awareness of sound and colors, nuance, conversations, the way we talk to each other, the way we listen to each other, of course, changes dramatically when we can be present. And kids with ADHD or those kinds of things that are so common these days, amazingly, kids really want to meditate. I teach a lot of parents to teach kids. I've taught kids as well. And they respond, even the really hyperactive kids, like they know, and their answer is in that, a lot of the most, the geniuses of our time are often hyperactive, and what they do is they learn to calm their mind down, and they usually do it, young, when they're 10 years old, 11 years old, and they're going fishing, or they learn some technique to become still. And then that harnesses that big mind that they have. Wow. And our big minds that we have.
There are a lot of schools are bringing mindfulness into the classroom, and that's a beautiful thing. So I'm talking with Diana Lang. We're talking about her book, Opening to Meditation, A Gentle Guided Approach. We'll be back in just a few moments after the break. Please stay tuned to learn more about meditation and what it can do for you to improve your life. We'll be right back.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the Internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson, and I have Diana Lang here joining me. We're talking about meditation and her recently released book, Opening to Meditation, A Gentle Guided Approach. So, Diana, before the break, we were talking about how even children, they really do enjoy meditation once they experience it and quieting their own minds. And so, I asked, is there a wrong way to do meditation? And really what I want to get to is some of the things you outline in your book, like how to practice meditation, how to set the stage for that. I know in your book you talk about creating a sacred space, sitting, breathing, intention, attention, being by yourself, and stillness. And so can you kind of walk those who are listening through the steps of how to create that sacred space and step into a place of meditation?
Yes, it's again that word conscious act. When we decide a place is sacred, then it is, right? It can be anywhere we are. I've meditated in my car, because that was the most peaceful place in my world, right? When my house is being worked on or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So by claiming the space is sacred, you identify to it in that way. And we can do that all the time, where we claim every place is sacred, every conversation is sacred, every interaction at work is sacred. But in meditation, we're creating a place usually in our home or some place where we're comfortable, where we can set up a little area, and sometimes people will light a candle there, or they'll have a little picture there, or they'll have some positive thought there. And so it becomes like a little working altar. And those are really powerful to have in your home, or a place where when you look at it, just when you walk by it even, it reminds you of taking a deep breath and to all of the wisdom that comes whenever you sit to meditate.
So it is really probably very helpful to have a set place or at least one or two set places in your home where that's where I meditate.
Yeah, because it's just, it sort of becomes concentrated there. You know what I mean? It's like that the area becomes powerful just by its existence, as long as you sit at it and keep working with it. Otherwise it can get dull and dusty just like anything else can. But if you work it, it becomes this magical area in your home. And you can have many places in a home, of course, but usually people have a primary place that they will meditate in. But sometimes, really and realistically, you might find yourself just getting up from sleeping and sitting up in your bed and meditating, and that completely counts. There's nothing wrong with any place. You can be outside, you can be inside, you can be in a temple, you can be in your living room,
or at a park by the lake.
Exactly.
So let's talk about sitting, because most people who have not experienced meditation before, as soon as you say it, they think of a yoga pose, the lotus position.
Right.
And your hands are in I forget what you call it.
Mudra.
A mudra. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so talk a little bit about that. How important or not important is that?
Right. It's not important. I want to start by saying that it is not critical to anything in meditation that you sit in a particular exact way, but it does optimize things, okay? So in the old trainings, there was very particular things you did with your hands, with your body, with your spine, and your breath to create the optimal situation for creating the state of meditation. in the beginning of meditation, you can sit on a Barca lounger and or in the bathtub, right? All those kinds of places where you're just trying to practice getting used to being with yourself and creating a relationship with your higher self. As you move deeper into meditation, if you choose to do that, then it becomes a little bit more refined in terms of the way you use your breath and the way you use your hands and the way you use your body. But none of those things are critical to having a meditational experience. And, one of the things you asked earlier was, how long does it take? And we sort of went off to the children thing, but it can take no time, or lifetimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It depends. And readiness is so much a part of it. And spirituality, to me anyway, as people come into my life wanting to be taught, they're ready. They are really ready. And the people that are listening to this conversation are ready, or they wouldn't be hearing this conversation.
Right. They're looking for a solution to, because that chronic fight and flight is, it's very wearing.
You're exhausted.
Yeah.
Exhausted, physically exhausted. And meditation gives this relief. It's like an inner oasis, like a sanctuary, within ourselves. And you can refuel here and recharge yourself. And I call it, resourcing, going to source energy, resourcing ourselves.
So how about the breath? Because I've listened to different, thoughts on how to breathe. Some people say you breathe in through your nose, you exhale out your mouth. You do a count, a 2 inhalation and a 4 count exhalation. Or, how critical. But I do believe that breath is my first step into finding the silence. But what do you teach people?
Right. Well, I teach a lot of things in regard to the breath because, like you say, it's kind of the first thing that you encounter in the silence is your breath. And your breath becomes an amazing gauge to tell your stress level, like how you're breathing, if you're breathing properly or backwards. So many people breathe backwards. So when you're getting the breath just rhythmed correctly, where you're, as you inhale, your belly expands. And as you exhale, your belly descends.
What is breathing backwards?
Breathing is backwards is the opposite of that, which is what happens when we are being chased by a tiger. The chemistry in our body flips into a fight or flight. Mm-hmm. What happens is, unfortunately, because we live in such a stressful world these days, some people never go out of fight or flight. So what happens is their immune system gets compromised. They can't sleep at night. They're stressed. It definitely affects the mind and thinking and our memories and everything, how we feel about ourselves, how we eat, etc. So just by getting the breath organized, that does wonders. And I'll just say it again. It's when we inhale, proper breath is inhale, the belly expands, it opens. And as we exhale, it descends. And if it's doing the opposite of that, that's a backwards breath.
Good to know.
Yeah, really good to know. It changes your life. That little thing I just told you is probably the biggest tip I could ever tell you in terms of your health and physiological health and mental health.
Yeah. And then I think about all the other healing modalities that put so much emphasis on the breath. Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic. It's really huge because it signals the central nervous system to go from being in fight and flight, which is the sympathetic mode, into peace and calm, which is parasympathetic. Exactly. And it's the fastest way to get you out of stress.
Exactly. And so the first thing that you teach a student usually, not always, but almost always, is because the first thing they're encountering in the silence is their breath. And so they kind of get to meet their breath and find out, how are they breathing and are they breathing? How much are we holding our breath, which is always a good question to ask,
Right. That's so true. So many people, it's really fascinating what we do in our physiology without even, because we're not mindful, right? We're not noticing.
Exactly. And so that is such a gift because the minute that you start to breathe naturally and become aware of the breath, you're already going in. You're going into that inner space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So talk a little bit about intention because Do you set an intention before you begin your meditation? Is that I'm coming to my meditation with a specific purpose? Talk a little bit about intention.
Well, the main thing I would say about intention, and I write about intention in the book, is the idea that this is back to what I keep repeating today for some reason, this idea of consciousness, the choice for something, the act of will that says, I am going to quiet my mind, and I am not only my mind. I'm more than my mind. And so that's an intention that meditation kind of requires. We're coming in there in this willingness to touch a bigger thing than our ego mind, you know? Yeah. And so, of course, also, like you were alluding to, you can also, bring things into your meditation, like a practice for forgiveness, or a practice for healing a situation in your life, or practice for making life decisions. You can bring those into the silence of the meditation and really get insight in terms of what to do, when to do it, those kinds of things. All of that requires that intentionality, though.
Mm. And so, a lot of people think also about meditation that I need to have a mantra then if I'm going to meditate, right? And that's not necessarily true now, is it?
No, not at all. There's, Transcendental Meditation, which is probably one of the most popular forms of meditation. It's been here the longest in the U.S. Is mantra-based. And so a lot of people received mantras, as I did, as a TM practitioner as well. So that's a way though of touching that space. When you go into a meditation, if you're having trouble silencing the mind, if you can't concentrate on the breath easily, a lot of times what a teacher will give you is a phrase or a word or a Sanskrit word or a prayer, right? Or a rosary or a mala, to work with, to give your mind something to do, or your mind something to focus on, like love, for instance, or God, or peace, or any word like this that would kind of create a state in ourselves.
And like so these are very something. Powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mine for many, many years was "Thy will be done."
Oh, that's powerful.
And I worked with that for, 18 years.
Wow. That's very, very powerful, because that's surrender, isn't it?
Yes. And that is a big piece of meditation, right? As you're surrendering to the greater good, to the universe, to all that is. And then by doing that, you touch into all of that and you're connected to all that is.
Now that's where the magic really is, isn't it? That's why people stay with us. So we're going into another break, everyone. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We're going to continue this conversation with Diana Lang on meditation. When we return, I'll have Diana share how you can get in touch with her and get her book. I think it'll really serve you well. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Greetings, fellow soul travelers. This is Dr. Amelia Kemp with OMTimes Radio. If you've been stressed mentally or emotionally, then join me on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the From Psychotherapy to Sacred Therapy show, where you'll learn you're not sick, you're sacred. And by aligning with the soul is what makes you whole.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson on OMTimes Radio, the voice of consciousness. You're listening to the Intuitive Transformations radio show. And I have my lovely guest, Diana Lang, here, and we have been talking about meditation. She is a meditation and yoga teacher. She has written a wonderful book that's very easy to read. It's a fast read. It's chock full of very clearly and concisely explained information about meditation. There's also wonderful links that you can put into your internet browser on your computer, and it allows you to access some beautiful meditations that Diana has recorded in her own voice that will help you, especially those of you, if you've never meditated before, if you're novice or you are more beginning or intermediate, that you might want to just allow her to guide you through your meditation process and allow her voice to deepen that experience for you. So, Diana, can you tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, yes. They can reach me through my website, which is dianalang.com. And there's all kinds of resources on my website, and especially that you were bringing up the meditations in the book. I really want people to meditate, and so I offer a lot of things that are free on Facebook, on SoundCloud. There's hundreds and hundreds of meditations that are just free on there that you can listen to on every single subject you can imagine. And it's just a wonderful way, because one of the things that happens for new meditators sometimes is it's hard to sit quietly by yourself. And so one of the things why I wanted to include, guided meditations in my book and something you could link and listen to right then is so that they could have an experience of meditating right away, because there's power in being guided in the sense that you can reach a state maybe you couldn't get to quite by yourself at first.
I totally agree. I'm a hypnotherapist, and so it's amazing where people can go when somebody's leading the way, especially, like you said, you're offering this so they can start right away. Those who have never had an experience, even though they read the book, they're still not sure, how does this, do I apply this? And they're still probably in their egoic mind questioning, critiquing.
Am I doing it right?
Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it right?
Which is the number one question, right, that everyone asks when they're learning meditation is they're sure they're not doing it right, and that's one of my big jobs, is just to help people and kind of soothe people there, because there's so much fear about not doing it properly. And that's what my book is really written in that way, to encourage people to try, because the benefits are so great.
Yeah, because there really is no wrong way to do meditation. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, is that it's great that your book is here, because it does give people the we're so hard on ourselves. We're in a society, at least in the United States. I can't speak for the rest of my international listeners who, different cultural experiences. But here in the United States, people are so hypercritical and hypervigilant about shaming themselves and blaming themselves, which is something we talked about a little bit earlier, how you give your students, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, how important that is, that we begin to step into that.
Right. Well, it's the dissolving of the ego. We are in, all of those things of, competition and trying and not being good enough and trying to be better. All of those are part of the ego's hold, sort of the trick of the ego. And when you start to meditate, you move to the soul. And so you start to have conscious relationship with your soul, with your spirit. I mean, what more powerful thing can there be than that? And then you employ the ego like a tool to use the ego to get the job done or write the book or make the call or whatever it is. But we use the ego instead of being used by the ego in all of its fears.
It's not about extinguishing or dissolving the ego. It's about flipping the hierarchy.
You're right. You can't dissolve the ego in the human form.
It's our identity.
Are. Yes.
Yeah.
It's who you are. But it can absolutely be used better.
Right, exactly.
I say that to my classes all the time. Use yourself better, Use yourself. If we're a tool, this body, this life, to contribute something that's true and real and authentic to yourself. Use yourself better and take advantage of this ego-bodied thing to do this beautiful contribution like your show, and my book and all of these good works that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. In addition to reading your book, I also reread recently Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, and I'm sure you probably have heard of this book. And he talks about this observer within ourselves. And when you talk about stillness, this part of ourselves that is observing, the part of ourselves that is doing, that is thinking, that is having this human experience. How do your students ever ask you questions about that? And how do you address those questions?
Well, yes. I mean, that's that existential thing, what is real?
Yeah.
And who am I? And who are you? And who are we together? And what is this world? Those are very, metaphysical questions, and they're asked all the time along the way of inside the spiritual life. But the new meditator, it's more just getting a connection with the self, to just have a relationship with the self and to start to recognize that there is this other self, or not other self, your true self, your spirit self, that you can connect to directly.
So when you have someone who's coming in that's brand new and you've asked them, you've suggested 5 minutes a day, daily, they go to their sacred space, they get into a comfortable position, they are engaged in their breath. In those 5 minutes, what do you have them focus on? Just the breath?
Well, I do different things. I often give students practices. I may have anywhere from 20 to 100 people in a class, and as I teach them, I'm teaching them, I might be giving the whole group a practice to do, like a mantra or a phrase or an idea I want them to ponder, or a breath practice. I mean, there's just so many different things I would offer. And to individual students, as I sense in the class, because one of the things that happens when you meditate is your extrasensory perception becomes much more heightened. You begin to know where people are exactly, so you can very, very accurately guide people into deeper spaces or into spaces that are better for them and that sort of thing,
So you have about 100 people in a class. So this is group meditation, and what an impact to have such a large group meditating together, because what I've experienced in group meditation, it makes the experience far more profound than just meditating alone. Is it kind of a resonance thing? Kind of like when you're in a violin shop and you pluck one chord, all of the violins resonate with that chord? Or what is that phenomena?
Yeah, well, it's training wheels, right? So the ones that are able to hold the frequency a little bit better than newer people that might not know how to yet, if there's even one person in the room that knows how to do that, with me, now there's two. So we're holding a certain resonance. We're hitting that C note, right? And all the little C notes in the room are buzzing to our C note that we're making. The heart center sound, right, is the C note. And so it's much easier to meditate in a group. Because of that, and usually there's many people that have been meditating for a while in a big group like that. But oftentimes, and many times, I'm teaching a whole class of brand new beginners, and none of them have done meditation before. And in that sense, still, it's powerful in a group because they can kind of do it together, and they get a little bit more jazz. It kind of is a little bit brighter than if they did it in their at home.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely. I mean, I totally enjoy meditating in a group. It's transformative. It really makes a tremendous difference. I had the privilege of leading a meditation group for a festival here in Seattle. And, to do that for 2 full days at 8 hours at a time was amazing. I had never experienced that before. So.
Right. And you can get to places you've never been before in groups that might take you many years to get there on your own.
Exactly. So we talked a little bit about some of the benefits of meditation, and we only have just a few more minutes left. But there's stress relief, definitely enhancing creativity, opening up your intuitive abilities. What else can happen with meditation?
Well, of course, all the physiological things that happen, of adjusting to blood pressure, problems with sleeping and pain, depression, healing from injuries or disease in the body, anxiety disorders, heart problems, it just goes on and on, that meditation starts to improve your general health.
And so it really is remarkable when I hear you say that, how much our mind matters in terms of everything. Everything is consciousness, isn't it?
It really is. And you don't see, lamas or these great saint teachers, with dementia and Alzheimer's, because you're practicing using your mind all the time in this very present way.
So, yeah, because meditation is not about vacating the mind.
Right.
It's really is
being there.
Yeah, it really is the optimal exercise for the mind.
Plus, it's wonderful for addiction and problems, with drugs and things like that. There's just so many physical benefits to meditation. It's in everyone's best interest. And you'll want to, if you have some issue, you watch TV too much, you find yourself not doing that as often when you start to meditate.
Yeah, it does. It changes everything. Well, Diana, we're coming to the end of our show, sadly. This has been absolutely wonderful. I want to encourage everyone, please go out and get her book, especially if you've not had any experience with meditation before. I know it's a book I'm recommending for my clients now because it's such a great how to do it, very cleanly and concisely spelled out for people. Diana, thank you so very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Thank you so much. It's truly been a pleasure, Sylvia.
Oh, the pleasure's been mine. And I just want to remind everyone I will be here again next week, Sunday on September 13th. I will be sharing my insights on the importance of affirmative self-talk and how you can change your life by creating positive internal conversations and dialogue with yourself, something you can practice in meditation even. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you have a fantastic week.